Gamers, it is good to be back. I got myself a Sunday evening, a Big Dog t-shirt, and a fresh new tier list, and I'm ready to rock. We're going to be revisiting a perennial favorite of mine, and I'm going to revisit all of RuneScape's best Slayer tasks. Just to clarify by what I mean by each one of these tiers, S tier tasks are the best of the best. These are tasks that you would specifically skip for. A tier tasks are like a half step down from here. They're still extremely good. These are some of your best tasks in the game, but they just don't have that X factor. B tier is pretty good. D tier tasks are tasks that you sometimes skip. D tier, almost everybody will skip this task. And then F tier is the worst of the worst. Up first, we're going to start with the Araxite. We're going to put this guy in A tier. And the reason that it's an A tier is because you have options, and who doesn't love options? You can do Cannon, Venator Bow for this one, roughly 90 to 100k per hour. You could just AFK them. If you're feeling lazy, maybe you'll get yourself a pair of boots, or you could kill the boss and get yourself a $100 million amulet. All right, we got the Iron Man Classic of Worms. I am not a beginner Iron Man, and I don't really care about worm bone, so normally I'd put this guy in D tier. The reason for that is that they're not aggressive, they're super spread apart because it's a really big monster model, so you can't really pack them in super tight, and it's just not really good experience. With the introduction of Goading Potion, on the other hand, you get 6 minutes of AFK time, which bumps these bad boys up to a C. Personally, I think I'll skip them every single time, but I could see why you wouldn't now in the future. Next up, we got Black Demons. Black Demons going to be occupying that D tier. And remember, that D tier is more for tasks that almost everybody's going to skip most of the time, but there are some niche circumstances when this is a good task. It's not great experience, it doesn't really give you any drops unless you're killing gorillas. If you're an Iron Man and you need your Zenites, or if you don't have a lot of GP and you need those Zenites, these could be a good task for you. But for me personally, I'm kind of past that phase of the game and I'm not interested in doing them. Next up, we have the Warped Turtles, or just Warped Creatures, but I chose the Turtle because he's cooler. We're going to put this one up here in C, and it's only in C and not D because you can use a cannon here, which makes it better experience than most tasks that you can't use a cannon at, so that's always good. I would leave these locked and not unlock them if I were you, unless you're a really early game Iron Man and you need the Warped Scepter and you don't have 87 Slayer yet. I hate to do it to him because I love this Turath model here. He's just super weird and goofy looking. Iconic look. I digress. That's an F tier monster. This task is just god awful. You have to use a shittier weapon than your normal one with the leaf bladed. You can't barrage them, you can't cannon them, they're not aggressive, there's just nothing there for you. Now, the Kraken's another really hard one for me to play, so like, I kind of want to put it in a B tier, and I kind of want to put it in a C tier. I've done a lot of Kraken. I went roughly 9,000 dry for my first Kraken pet, and then I got a second pet, that same task. Love how that happens. Anyways, I'm going to put it up here in B. I think it's one of the best AFK tasks in the game, just because you can kind of like chill there with it on mobile and then just click your fishing potion in there, have auto retaliate, finish the rest of it for you. I don't know, it's just enjoyable. I personally like it, so it's up there in B tier. Next up, we have Elves. Man, this is a bottom heavy one. I would give this one like a D minus. We'll put it up here in D because it's not quite an F tier task. I would skip this one if you possibly can. They're super spread apart. The drops are bad. The experience is bad. They're really not worth doing for most people. We'll get back to this right after one quick word from our sponsors. Me. I'm sponsoring my own video. I'm in a new YouTube channel. It's going to be similar content to the content that I make for this channel, but it's just not going to be about RuneScape. It's going to be about other games. I have a few videos up about Fallout now, and it is extremely hard to build a new channel, so that's why I'm here begging you guys, if you're into that type of thing, if you do like Fallout, if you do like other video games, and you do like my style of content, make sure to check it out. I'll have a link down in the description below. Ooh, we got Lizardmans. I'm going to put these guys up here in B, once again, because you have options, and everybody likes to have options. You can cannon them. It's an okay cannon task, a decent amount of experience because there's a lot of them around you. You could kill Lizardman Shamans if you're an Iron Man and you need the Dragon Warhammer. If you're a main, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. It's miserable. Or if you were going for Chambers of Xeric speed runs, you can do the Shamans in Chambers of Xeric on task, which should speed that up for you. So there's some great utility there. All right, let's get that S tier spot filled out. We have our boss task, and this is the one where you get assigned X amount of bosses to kill. This one's fun. It's like gambling. You don't know what you're gonna get. Some of the better ones, I love Zulrah tasks. It's just fun to go really fast at Zulrah and try to get a PB. General Grardar, Zilliana, any one of these boss tasks that you can't really get through any other means, it's really nice to be able to get it through this. This is one of those ones that if I am doing tutorial skipping to try to get a Zuck task, often I can't bring myself to skip these. Next up, we have the Kurask. It's the Turot's big monkey brother. We're gonna put these guys over here in D tier. They're definitely better than the Turots because you can AFK them. They are aggressive, but they are super spread apart, so a lot of your time spent just waiting to get attacked, which is not what I'm looking for out of an AFK task. You do have to use leaf-bladed weaponry, which is just bad, which means they're super slow. You're not attacking them half of the time. The drops are mid. If you're really early game, they might be okay for you, or if you're an Iron Man. However, just overall, this is mainly a skip for me. Next up, we got Hydras. Hydras are gonna go straight into B for boring. Every time I get a Hydra task, it takes me like a month to finish it. One, because I don't want to do it. The other part is just because it takes forever to kill them. A lot of people are going to complain because a lot of people think these are good money, but really, are they? It's like 3 mil an hour. If you have 95 Slayer, you can likely make 3 mil an hour in at least 10 other places in game. These are not going to be groundbreaking for any account that has the requirements to kill them. Next up, we have Skeletal Wyverns, which are going to go down into the F tier. I hate this Slayer task. They take forever to kill, they take forever to get to. You take a lot of damage if you're not safe spotting them, which takes even longer, and the drops are mid at best. Next up, we have the Smoke Devil, which is going straight into the S tier. This is one of the best tasks in the game, hands down. It is the best barrage task. It's also the best cannon task, and not only do these have a ton of HP for you to barrage, the reason that makes these so much better of a task than the other barrage tasks is that you can stack almost 2 and maybe 2 full stacks of 9 on top of each other. I think I've looked at mine. I'm not too good at it, but I've gotten like 16 or 17 in one stack, which means you can just barrage for so much longer, which means more experience, more drops, more chance of superiors. It's just great for that. You can also go off and kill the boss variant, the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, for pet, collection logs, whatever you might want to be killing it for. So it has options, and options are always great as well. Next up, we have the Hellhounds. Hellhounds are about as middle of the road as you can possibly get. I skip these sometimes. I do them some of the other times, which is why I think C is like kind of perfect for them. They're just a little bit slow. You can AFK them, which is fine. You can cannon them, which is just fine. Neither of them are great. And the boss itself is also just fine. We have Cave Horrors, the better of the two horrors, but still, that's not going to help it get out of this D tier. They're super spread out, which is my main problem with them. So you have to run all over the place if you have good DPS killing these things. There's not a lot packed in next to your cannon, and your cannon always aggroes those bats, which is just super annoying. Jellies, we're going to put these up here in B. They're a pretty solid barrage task, and they're a really good source for hard clues. Not really much more to say about them. Kelphites are going to zoom right up here into the A tier, and not just because his models are super similar, but it's definitely a contributing factor. They're here because they got options. You can kill the little guys. The little guys give you not great experience, but it will be one of the fastest tasks in the game, so it's going to give you great points per hour, and it's also just going to be able to get you rid of that task if you want to get something different. The medium-sized ones are great experience. You can couple that with a cannon. You could AFK them. You could Venator Bow with a cannon for even more experience, or you could kill the Kalphite Queen if you're into that type of thing. Dagonoths are another one with a lot of different choices, so they're going to go up here in the A tier as well. You can AFK them in the Catacombs with either a Venator Bow, or if you're working on your melee stats, it's okay down there as well. You can cannon them down at the Lighthouse. This is one of the best cannon tasks in the game, roughly 80 to 90k per hour for Slayer experience. And then also, if you want to go after the Dagonoth Kings, there's 3 pets to get, so have at it. Next up, we have the Necrial, and I guess we're just filling out the A tier slot today. Anyways, these ones are great experience per hour. The drops in the rune items like pretty much make up for your rune cost, which is great. So it's free magic experience, basically. It offsets the cost. The superior is kind of annoying, but it is very high level, which gives you a better chance of getting the heart if you're an Iron Man who's searching for something like that. And I know last time a lot of people complained that I didn't put this one in the S tier. It's not the best barrage task, so it can't be in the best tier. The Smoke Devil is a better barrage task. It is the best of its type. Therefore, the Necrial, which is worse than the Smoke Devil, cannot also occupy that spot. Mutated Zygomites, just a god-awful task all the way around. You do only get like 10 of them though, so you can finish it up pretty quick. I'll put that up there in D tier just because you can do it so fast, but if you got assigned like a normal amount of them, this is like a hard double F tier. Aberrant Spectres are about as D tier as you can possibly get. They're AFKable, but you do have to pray, and the experience isn't very good. They're cannonable, but the cannon can only attack one of them at a time since they're maging you, and you're always going to be aggroed by one of them. The ones in the catacombs, they're pretty tanky and the drops don't make up for it. Just really not a task that's worth doing. The least controversial pick of this video is Water Fiends going down here in the F tier. Easily the worst task in the game. You have to pray the entire time. They are super accurate, they are super tanky, and they drop literally nothing. It is a brand new day, and we got Spiritual Mages down here in F tier, right where they belong. Terrible task, bad experience, bad money. You have to wear God Wars protection. There's just nothing to love about this. And I know there's 3 of you down in the comments who are going to say something about getting next KC, but let me fill you in on a secret about that. You can get next KC without a Slayer task. Next, we got Greater Demons, another really mid task. The only real redeeming factor of these is that you can kill Zammy on task, and I do love options, and I do love Zammy. I think it's a good boss. It's satisfying with the little rotation. But killing these normally, you can use a cannon for them in the Chasm of Fire. It's not really that fast. They're AFKable in Catacombs. It's just a really mid-tier task. Abbey Demons, we're going to put these up here in the A tier. Just kidding, I hate these things. We're going to put them down into the C tier. I know they're one of the best barrage tasks in the game, says some people. I don't really see it personally. I think it's super annoying to tag them both on each sides of the catacomb. They teleport you and they teleport themselves all over the place and it gets all messed up. It's too much chaos for me. I'm just not about it, you know? And I know you can Venator bow them, kind of AFK it a little bit. That's fine. But the last few times I've done that, you're doing it well for a little while, but then all of a sudden you'll come back like 20 minutes later not attacking anything. And it's just not really too good. So, you know, I'm going to put them down there and see. Next up, we got Gargoyles. I like this boss way more than most people do. I think it's a really fun fight to try to get PBs on. And as far as an AFK task, it's one of the better ones in my opinion. If you're after the money, it's pretty good for just like an AFK Slayer monster. And if you're just after getting this task over with AFK, like I am, you can sit yourself down in that like little circle part downstairs in Mortania and just AFK to your heart's content. Next up, Basilisks. This one's a D tier task. I don't recommend unlocking these unless you're an Iron Man. The money here is terrible. I know the jaw is worth a lot of money, but by the time you kill enough Basilisks, it's just really not worth it. It's something like 200k an hour. Don't go after the jaw unless you're an Iron Man, and you have to pray the entire time. They still do damage to you, so you have to like restock and watch your health, so you can't like AFK too hard unless you want to Blood Fury through it. Just not a really good task. Next up is one of my personal favorites. It's almost in the S tier, but I'm going to put these Dark Beasts down here in A. And the reason for that is that it's one of the fastest point boosting tasks in the game. You get assigned like 6 to 12 of them or something like that, so it's over with super quick. It's AFKable, you can cannon it, and if you're an Iron Man who's after your heart and you're super dry on this is one of the best possible ways to get it, and you can get it while going AFK. Next up, we have Fire Giants. They're not quite in F for a Fire Giant. They're going to be in D for dull, because I just think this is a really boring task that isn't worth my time. There are a ton of dragons that you can get as Slayer tasks. Unfortunately, they're all like specific to that dragon. It'd be kind of interesting to see if they just like came out with like a dragon Slayer task and then you just get to pick the best one. Let me see if I can do this rapid fire round in one take. Let's start it off with the Metal Dragons. Bronze Dragon, F tier, dog shit, no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Iron Dragons, F tier, probably worse than Bronze Dragons because one, you still get nothing from them, but you get assigned like 180 of them. Terrible. Steel Dragons, A tier. You get assigned like 8 of them. This is like a 3-minute task if you're maxed. Just bring your Tumican Shadow, just blast them away. If you don't have a Shadow, Lance shreds them as well. I think this is Adamant Dragons. I am pretty colorblind. I'm going to put this one down here in C tier. Poison, super annoying, does have some drops. Mithril Dragons, A tier. You get assigned like 5 or 6 of them, super fast clearing time, and you can get that Dragon Full Helm. And then Rune Dragons, I'm going to put this down here in the B tier. You also get assigned a very small quantity of them, which is very nice, but these ones also make you money, which is good as well. Cool, let's switch over to the Chromatic Dragons. We're not going to be doing green since those are only in the Wilderness, and I don't want to do Wilderness Slayer on here because that's a whole nother can of worms. Complain in the comments if you feel some type of way. Blue Dragons, we're going to put these down here in the... I want to put them in D because I hate them, but they're really more of a mid-C tier task. You can kill the babies, not too bad, and you can kill Vorkath, but you could just use your Salve Amulet EI. Since it doesn't stack with the Slayer Helm, doesn't make any sense to really like wait for a task to do Vorkath. Red Dragons, Doesn't have the redeeming quality of Vorkath. You can still kill the babies on this one. We're going to put this one down here in D. I recommend not unlocking this at all for any reason, for any type of account. I know there's Forthos Dungeon. Doesn't matter. Black Dragons, on the other hand, S tier. Glorious task. The best task for point boosting, or whatever you want to call it, in the game. Super fast. You get assigned like 10 to 20 of them. You can Expeditious Bracelet and finish that in less than 5 minutes every single time. Absolutely beautiful. And you have the option to kill the KBD on task, which is always a great bonus, and it's just a really cool, iconic pet. Let's just get this one out of the way. It is the best task in the game. Clearly, Zuck, or I guess just Tazars, because the Fight Caves is excellent as well. Two of my favorite pieces of content in the game. You can go for all the combat achievements. You can just speedrun and go for the PBs. You can pet hunt here. It's just like the most fun task. At a certain point, a lot of you who are watching this probably are not at this point of the game yet, but Slayer becomes just trying to farm Zuck tasks. Like, endgame Slayer is just Zuck and Turiel skipping. So that is why Zuck has to be S tier. If there was a triple S tier, Zuck is alone at the top of the mountain. And we have Ankus. Ankus are one of the better mid tasks. I'm going to put these up here in B. The redeeming quality, the reason why Ankus are good is that they don't have a lot of hit points and they're super AFKable. You only get assigned like 60 to 80 of them. So you can just put yourself down there in AFK, and in one little spell of aggro, you can wipe out the entire task. And we got Locust Riders. This is, I know I keep on talking about cool character models, but look at this thing. It is fantastic. A lot of people like these. I don't understand how to kill them. I'm sure there's a guide out there. I haven't watched it, so my experience with these has been terrible. They hit me so hard. I don't know how to get the insane experience rates that other people get. So, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. I'm sure these are way better, and people have told me that they're way better than I'm ranking them, but for me personally, F tier all the way. And this is going to be our last, like, really high placement. I'm going to put Bloodvelds up here in A tier. They're like an A+ tier. Not quite S, but these are one of the best tasks in the game. If you want experience, you can go down into the laboratories in Meyerditch, whatever you want to call it, the town, the vampire town with all the buildings, and you can set up your cannon and Venator bow them. Everything's in multi, so your cannon just goes absolutely nuts. The experience rates, I don't even want to quote something because I'm probably going to be underplaying it, but you can definitely get close to 6 figures on this one. Drake, we're going to put these here in D tier. And I know they're not that bad, but they're really not that good either. Abianzis, personally, I'm kind of over Kriara. Kriara just like does not pay out the drops to me, especially on the Iron Man where I'd like actually want it to happen. I'm gonna put Kree down here and C. I could see why you would want to kill Kree, but the regular Avianzis by themselves are just a terrible task, so I can't really put this all too much higher. Trolls are kind of a mid task, but they're on like the better side of mid because you can cannon the ice trolls up in like Yatizo, Nadasnot area, somewhere up there where it's snowy, and you can get like 60 to 70k an hour. Not too bad. Suckwas in a similar vein. I'm gonna put them up here in B tier. I used to really like these. Now they're kind of like more of a meh type of task. You can cannon them for, once again, like 60 to 70k an hour, and it's a really fast task overall. Next up, we have Fossil Island Wyverns. These are way better than the Skeletal Wyverns over here. We're gonna put them up here in C though, because it's also just a really mid task overall. They're like somewhat fast because you only get assigned 30 of them, but like actually killing the monster isn't fast, so it kind of evens itself out. Next up, we have Dust Devils. These are a solidly B tier task, like kind of like a C+, maybe a B- type of task. As far as barrage tasks go, they're pretty much the worst one. They have very low hit points, which means that a lot of your time is spent around like re-aggroing them. You have to re-aggro them so often that you actually have to bring stamina pots or you're going to run out of run energy, which is just personally really annoying. It's a problem that you don't run into if you're doing something like Neck Reels or Smoke Devils, which are better barrage tasks because they have way more hit points. Just kidding, I forgot 2 of these and they are fairly forgettable. We have Brine Rats that are, man, they're like a D or a C. They're just completely forgettable. They are just a low tier cannon test. You can get it over with pretty quickly, but the experience isn't great and the drops are none too great either. Okay, and the real last one of the video, because I like triple checked everything, is vampires. Vampires, I'm also going to put these up here in C tier. They could be better for you if you're in a stage of the game that makes a lot of sense for them, or if you're an Iron Man. It's a great way to speed up your AFKing of blood shards, which are a lot of money right now. It's not a lot of money per hour if you're doing this, but for how AFK it is, this is a pretty decent moneymaker. Thank you guys for watching. Do realize that this is just how I personally like to do Slayer. I'm a maxed main. I have like 40 million Slayer experience across accounts. So, you know, my needs might be different than your needs. Just make sure that you are having fun while playing the game, otherwise playing it doesn't make any sense. If you did like the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously, and I do really appreciate you.